Ambassador Susan Rice and her husband hold stock in TransCanada Corporation valued at between $300,000 and $600,000. TransCanada being the outfit that wants to build a pipeline, which under review at the State Department. If she were nominated as Secretary of State, would that pose any sort of conflict?
Well, I'll give two answers here. First of all, the President has not made a big decision about that or other personnel moves that he has to make because Secretary Clinton is leaving, Secretary Geithner is leaving. So that's one point. So I'm not going to speculate about a personnel decision the President has not made, a nomination he has not put forward. Secondly, I would commend Republican opposition researchers for the intellectual bandwidth that is required to read a financial disclosure form, because this was all documented in a financial disclosure form, entirely appropriately, legally, and by the book. So, what this represents, I think, in vivid fashion, is what I've been talking about for a while now, which is that none of this has anything to do with the tragedy that occurred in Benghazi. This is about politics, and that's a shame. So I actually, in part of my old school presentation here that included a hard copy of the President's proposal, I brought an interesting news article here that begins with the fact that a member of Congress requested those original talking points from the intelligence community that have been so much discussed, and I like this couple of sentences. More than 10 weeks later, the four pallid sentences that intelligence analysts cautiously delivered are the unlikely center of a quintessential Washington drama in which a genuine tragedy has been fed into the meat grinder of election year politics. In the process, the most important questions about Benghazi, where Ambassador J. Christopher Stevens and 3 other Americans were killed, have largely gotten lost. I agree with that.
The question wasn't about Benghazi at all. The question is about, was there a conflict? And if you don't think it's a conflict, explain to us why it isn't.
It's a hypothetical.
What's it got to do with Benghazi at all?
Well, because, Major, I know you're not so naive to believe that we're not seeing these articles because of the continued assault that's been taking place on Ambassador Rice that is all started with the non-event of her appearances on Sunday shows. One, two, let me, and I answer that question. I'm not going to speculate about a nomination process that hasn't even occurred. That's based on speculation. If somebody were nominated, would there be a conflict? Let's address this once we have a nomination.
It's not a disqualifier, in other words.
The President has said, and others have said, I have said, to the extent that my opinion matters, that Susan Rice is eminently qualified for any number of high-level foreign policy positions, including the one she has, where she has performed with great distinction.
This has been a Sunfish production.